which are essential for photosynthesis with different kinds of experiments, and we had seen the proofs how these factors are essential for photosynthesis, right? So now let us see how chlorophyll is essential for photosynthesis. Okay, so here Ingenhouse is a scientist. Already I told you, Ingenhouse actually said that plants produce oxygen in the presence of light, right? So that same Ingenhouse wanted to know more and more about this photosynthesis process. So for that he carried on several experiments to understand it, and then he proposed that green parts of plants, what are they? Green parts of plants undergo photosynthesis. Later on scientists continued to work on this photosynthesis process. After 4 decades of Ingenhouse proposal, the scientist could extract that green color substance from the plants. In the year 1817, 2 scientists named Pelletier and Caventou. Who are the 2 scientists? Pelletier and Caventou are the 2 scientists in the year 1817 has extracted the green substance from the plants. They could separate the green substance from the plant and called it as chlorophyll. What is it called as? Chlorophyll. Chloro means green, phyll or phylla means leaf. So the meaning of chlorophyll is green leaf. Is it clear? So in the year 1817, Pelletier and Caventou are the 2 scientists who could separate or extract this green color substance from the plants, and they named it as chlorophyll, meaning green leaf. Okay, and during that time not much was known about photosynthesis. So the scientists even did not know where actually photosynthesis occurs, and according to them, and they believed that this green color substance what we are saying is chlorophyll might be spreaded in the entire cells of the plant parts. So they thought that it is spreaded. Which is spreaded? Green color substance called chlorophyll might be spreaded in the entire cells, right? But in the year 1883, Julius von Sachs, who is that? Julius von Sachs is a scientist who said that this chlorophyll is not spreaded in the cells, but it is present in special cell organelles called chloroplast. What are those cell organelles called? Chloroplasts. So in the plant cells there are special cell organelles called chloroplasts, and these chloroplasts contain the green substance called chlorophyll pigment. So you see, Pelletier and Caventou had said that this substance called as chlorophyll. After 6 decades from these 2 scientists, Julius von Sachs said that chloroplast contain chlorophyll pigment, and this chlorophyll pigment is not spreaded in the cells of the plants. Got the point, children? Okay, so Julius von Sachs actually said that the chlorophyll, that is green substance, is present in special cell organelles called chloroplasts. Okay, now where are these chloroplasts present? More number of chloroplasts are present in stomatal guard cells and the ground tissue of plants. Stomatal guard cells and the ground tissue of plants. Generally in the green plants we find chloroplast, and these chloroplasts contain the green substance which we call as the pigment. What is it called? Pigment called chlorophyll. What is it called? Chlorophyll pigment. Each cell contains 4200 chloroplasts. Nearly 4200 chloroplasts are seen in each cell. And where are these chloroplasts present? The chloroplasts are present only in plant cells. They are absent in animal cells. Chloroplasts are present only in plant cells. They are absent in animal cells. So generally the chloroplasts are seen in leaves, because green parts in the plants are nothing but the leaves, and in the leaves we find the chloroplasts. Got the point? So if we observe the external structure of the leaf, you could see the leaf picture now, and if we observe it, the spreaded area is called as leaf lamina, and these edges are called as the margins. And in the center of the leaf you could see a thick line running through, isn't it or not? That line is called midrib. What is it called? Midrib. And in the lamina you could see the network like, isn't it or not? Right? So this leaf actually consists of number of cells. It is made of number of cells. And if you observe carefully, the upper part of the leaf is dark in color, whereas the lower part of the leaf is little light green in color. Right? Upper part is dark green in color, lower part is light green in color. Right? So why is it this so? So that we will understand by observing the structure of TS of leaf. If we observe the structure of TS of leaf, then we will understand actually where the chloroplasts are present and why the upper part of the leaf is dark green in color, whereas the lower part of the leaf is light green in color. Now let us see the picture of the TS of leaf and observe the structure and parts and where the chloroplasts are present. Okay. Now let us see the TS of leaf. TS means transverse section. If you see the transverse section of the leaf, the parts will be like this. Okay, if you see here, look at the picture children carefully. The upper side you could see a single line of cells, and the lower side also you can see a single line of cells. This single line of cells is called epidermis. What is this called as? Epidermis. It is present in the upper side, so we call it as upper epidermis, whereas lower side also we could see such kind of structure which is called as lower epidermis. And epidermis, epi means upon, dermis means layer. So generally the epidermis will form the outer layer of the organs of the living bodies. Understood? So in your 9th class you learnt about different kinds of tissues, and epidermis is also a kind of tissue, right? So what is the function of epidermis? It gives protection. Epidermis gives protection, and over this epidermis you could see one more extra layer. See, above the epidermis you could see another layer. Both sides, on the upper side you can see, on the lower side also you can see, and that extra layer is called cuticle. What is it called as? Cuticle. So what is the function of this cuticle? Cuticle gives extra protection. Cuticle gives extra protection to the leaf. The epidermis function itself is to give protection, but this leaf also has an extra layer which gives more protection, and that layer is called cuticle. Okay. Now if you look at the upper side of the diagram, you can see long cylindrical elongated cells. See, closely arranged elongated cells, right? 2 layers of cells are seen here, and those cells are called as Palisade Parenchyma. What is the layers of those cells called? Palisade Parenchyma. And in between the Palisade Parenchyma, you could see a rough triangular structure shaped. Upper side it is broader and lower side it is narrow, and that special structure what you can see in between, that is called as vascular bundle. What is it called? Vascular bundle. Vascular bundle means what? Consisting of xylem and phloem. Consisting of xylem and phloem. Now what is the function of xylem? It transports water. Xylem transports water and phloem transports food. Phloem transports food. So xylem and phloem together is called vascular bundle, and in between you can clearly see the vascular bundles. Now come to the lower part. Here you could see irregularly shaped cells and loosely arranged. Means they have some intercellular spaces between them. The cells are irregularly arranged and you could see the spaces between them. These loosely arranged with irregular cells is called as spongy parenchyma. What is it called as? Spongy parenchyma. And here in this spongy parenchyma, you could see some larger spaces left, larger empty spaces, right? So those spaces are called air spaces. What are they called? Air spaces. Now, if you go to the lower epidermal layer, you could see some gaps here, right? So those gaps are nothing but the pores. We call them as stomata. What are they called? Stomata. And these stomatal pores are guarded by guard cells, or they are actually covered by guard cells, right? So in the lower epidermis only you could see the stomata. You don't see stomata in the upper epidermis. Is it clear, children? Stomata are the openings which are present in the lower epidermis. So this is the structure of TS of leaf. Now the important thing what you have to observe here is, look at the diagram. In the upper side I said elongated cells, cylindrical cells, and you could see some dots in those cells, right? So those dots are nothing but the chloroplasts. What are they? Chloroplasts. Each dot actually is a chloroplast. Each cylindrical structure is a cell, and in each cell there are number of chloroplasts. I already told you each cell contains nearly 40 to 100 chloroplasts, isn't it or not? So here if you observe, each cylindrical cell has number of chloroplasts, right? So if you see the upper part in the Palisade Parenchyma, the cells are closely arranged and more number of chloroplasts are present. Whereas if you see the spongy parenchyma, the irregular shaped cells are there, loosely arranged, and there are also chloroplasts in these cells. So Palisade parenchyma has chloroplasts in them, whereas spongy parenchyma also has chloroplasts in them. But compared to the Palisade parenchyma, the spongy parenchyma has less number of chloroplasts. Why? Because here the cells are spatially loosely arranged with intercellular spaces. That's why the number of cells is less, whereas the chloroplasts present in them also less compared to the Palisade parenchyma, where the cells are closely arranged, elongated cells, isn't it or not? So upper side more number of chloroplasts, lower side less number of chloroplasts. And you see in the external structure of leaf, I told you the upper part of the leaf is dark green in color compared to the lower part. That is, lower part is light green in color, upper part is dark green in color. So upper side we have the Palisade parenchyma consisting of more chloroplasts, that's why it is dark in color. Whereas lower side here less chloroplasts, that's why light green in color. So this is what is the structure of TS of leaf. And why we are studying this TS of leaf? To know where the chloroplasts are present. What do chloroplasts consist? They consist chlorophyll pigment. Chloroplasts are present in plant cells, and these chloroplasts are the cell organelles which contain chlorophyll pigment. Understood? Now let us see the importance of this chlorophyll pigment in the photosynthesis process. Okay, children? So in the TS of leaf we came to know that the ground tissue, that is Palisade parenchyma and the spongy parenchyma, we find more number of chloroplasts, isn't it or not? But now we know where the chloroplasts are present. Still we doesn't know the structure of chloroplast and what is the role of the chloroplast in photosynthesis. Scientists tried to separate or isolate this chloroplast, but they could not do it because whenever they tried, the cell used to get damaged and they could not separate this chloroplast from the cells. But in the year 1954, Daniel I. Ernon, who is he? Daniel I. Ernon is a scientist who could isolate the chloroplast. He isolated the chloroplast so gently that he could obtain the whole chloroplast without damaging it. So a whole chloroplast was separated from the plant cell without any damage by a scientist called Daniel I. Ernon. Then we came to know the structure of chloroplasts and where the chlorophyll pigment is present and what is the role of the chloroplasts in the process of photosynthesis. Okay, so now as we came to know that chloroplasts contain chlorophyll pigments and chloroplasts are present in plant cells, and Daniel I. Arnon could isolate the chloroplast, so it is clear that the structure of chloroplast is known. Understood? So now let us see the structure of chloroplast, right? So here also we are going to observe transverse section of chloroplast. What is it? Transverse section of chloroplast. Now look at the picture, children. If you observe the picture here, you see chloroplast is present in plant cells. It is absent in animal cells. Okay, and this chloroplast is a membranous structure. What is it? Membranous structure. The chloroplast consists of 3 layers or 3 membranes. How many membranes are there? 3 membranes. Outer membrane, inner membrane, and the third membrane is converted into stalked sac-like structures called granum. What is it called? Stalked sac-like structures is called granum. So that is the third layer. So how many layers are there in chloroplast? 3 layers, outer layer, inner layer, and the third layer is converted into granum. Okay, and it is believed that granum is the site for trapping solar energy. Granum is the site for trapping solar energy. And if you see in the chloroplast, the fluid filled portion called as stroma. What is the fluid filled portion inside the chloroplast called? Stroma. And this stroma consists number of enzymes, and these enzymes help in the synthesis of glucose. So now we can say stroma is the site for the enzymatic reactions leading to the formation of glucose. What is stroma's main role? It is the site for enzymatic reactions leading to the formation of glucose. Here granum is the site for trapping solar energy. Stroma is the site for enzymatic reactions for the production of glucose. Got the point? Right. So if you observe the structure, the chloroplast contain the special substances which help in trapping, or you can say capturing solar energy, and those special substances are called as photosynthetic pigments. What are they called as? Photosynthetic pigments. Number of such photosynthetic pigments are present in the chloroplast. Okay, so we are observing the structure of chloroplast, right? So it is having 3 membranes and it is having the stalked sac-like structures called granum and the liquid filled portion called as stroma. If you see the granum, very important, I said stalked sac-like structures. What are they present? Stalked sac-like present. Each sac is called thylakoid. What is called? Thylakoid. Each sac is called as thylakoid like this. Number of such sacs are arranged one above the other like this. So these piled up thylakoids called granum. So if you observe the picture here, number of sac-like structures are arranged one above the other, and each sac-like structure is called thylakoid, and such pile or such group of thylakoids is called granum. So number of such grana are present inside the chloroplast, isn't it or not? Okay. So chloroplast consists special substances which help in trapping the solar energy, and those substances are called photosynthetic pigments. What are they called? Photosynthetic pigments. Photosynthetic pigments means what? So pigments means colored substances. These are some chemical substances which give color. Understood? So these colored substances are helping in the process of photosynthesis. That's why we call them as photosynthetic pigment. So different kinds of pigments are present in the chloroplast, like chlorophyll is present, carotenoids are present, xanthophylls are present, phycobilins, etc. Such different kinds of photosynthetic pigments are present inside the chloroplast. But generally, whenever we are asked what is the pigment present in chloroplast means, we simply say chlorophyll, isn't it or not? That is because chlorophyll is present more in the chloroplast compared to the other pigments, like carotenoids, xanthophylls, phycobilins if you learn. So they are all present in low quantities. The molecules are very less inside the chloroplast, whereas chlorophyll pigment molecules are present more in number. That means the quantity or the concentration of chlorophyll pigment is more, very much more compared to the other pigments. And when I say pigment means it is giving color, right? So chlorophyll, the color is green. Carotenoids, the color is orangish red in color, whereas xanthophylls yellow in color, phycobilins purplish violet in color. Likewise, different kinds of pigments are there. They have different colors, but we generally observe the leaf, it is green in color. The other colors are not seen in general. What is the color of leaf means, we simply say green in color, right? That is because the chlorophyll pigment is present more in the chloroplast compared to the other pigments. Though the other pigments have their own colors, that color is not visible because their concentration is very less compared to the chlorophyll pigment. Got the point? That's why the leaves are green in color. Though their concentration is very less, they also help in photosynthesis. Then what is the important role of photosynthetic pigment? The main function of photosynthetic pigments is to trap the solar energy. What is the main function? To trap the solar energy. That is, to capture the solar energy and help in photosynthesis. That is the main role of the photosynthetic pigments. Got the point? Though the carotenoids, xanthophylls, such pigments are in less quantities, they too help in trapping solar energy. And as I told you already, this chlorophyll pigment is present in much quantity, or its concentration is very more or very much high in the chloroplast. That's why the leaves appear green in color. That is, chlorophyll pigment will trap more solar energy, and it is the one which is playing major role in the photosynthesis. Understood? Now, where are these pigments present? These pigments are present in thylakoid membranes. Where are they present? Thylakoid membranes. Already I told you, the third membrane is converted into sac-like structures called thylakoids, and they thylakoids are grouped together forming granum. So the thylakoid membranes consist the photosynthetic pigment. So what is the main function of the photosynthetic pigments? Not only giving color, but also to capture the solar energy. Okay, right. Now if you see the structure of chlorophyll pigment, the chlorophyll pigment is associated with one magnesium atom. It is associated with one magnesium atom, and the structure of chlorophyll pigment is similar to the structure of hemoglobin. And what is this hemoglobin? Hemoglobin is a pigment which is present in blood. If you see the color of chlorophyll, it is green in color and it is present in chloroplast in plant cells, whereas hemoglobin is red in color, it is present in blood. Right? So what is the function of chlorophyll pigment? It captures the solar energy. And what is the function of hemoglobin? It transports the oxygen in blood. It transports the oxygen in blood, and it is associated with one iron atom. Hemoglobin is associated with one iron atom. So the chlorophyll structure is similar to heme of the hemoglobin, which is present in the blood. Okay, now chlorophyll is of two types. Chlorophyll is of two types: chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B. Right? So chlorophyll A is blue green in color, whereas chlorophyll B is yellow green in color. Chlorophyll A is blue green in color, and chlorophyll B is yellow green in color, right? So this is what is about the photosynthetic pigments present in the chloroplast. Okay. So the photosynthetic pigments are present in the membranes of thylakoids, right? So now 250 to 400 pigment molecules group together. They group together to form light harvesting complex, or we can also call it as photosynthetic unit. So what is photosynthetic unit? 250 to 400 pigment molecules are grouped together to form a light harvesting complex, also called as photosynthetic unit in each granum. And as I told you already, we had seen in the picture, number of such grana are present inside the chloroplast, isn't it or not? And each granum has these light harvesting complexes. So all these photosynthetic units or light harvesting complexes together function or together work and help in photosynthesis process, right? So what is the main function of these pigment molecules? They capture the solar energy and they help in the process of photosynthesis so that glucose is produced. What is the light harvesting complex? 250 to 400 pigment molecules grouped together in each granum, and they together function so that they help in photosynthesis. Okay, so till now we had seen the structure of chloroplast and what are present inside the chloroplast. Important parts of chloroplast are granum and the stroma. The site for energy trapping or the site for light trapping is nothing but granum, whereas the site for enzymatic reactions is stroma, as we already seen. So this chloroplast actually is very, very important for the process of photosynthesis. Why? Because chloroplast is the organelle containing chlorophyll pigment, and that pigment will capture the solar energy. Now let us see the events which are occurring during photosynthesis in chloroplast, or the events occurring in chloroplast during photosynthesis. What are they and how the photosynthesis occurs? Let us discuss in detail. So what are the events seen in the chloroplast during the process of photosynthesis? Let us see. Generally, there are three events occurring in chloroplast during the photosynthesis. The first event is conversion of light energy to chemical energy. What is the first event occurring? Conversion of light energy to chemical energy. Second event is splitting of water molecule. What is the second event? Splitting of water molecule. And coming to the third event, reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrate. What is the third event? Reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrates. These are the three events which are occurring in chloroplast during photosynthesis. Let us recall again: conversion of light energy to chemical energy, splitting of water molecules, and reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrate. These are the three events occurring in chloroplast. Okay. Now these three events are actually divided into two phases. They are light phase or light dependent reactions. What is the first phase? Light phase or light dependent reactions, and the second one is dark phase, also called as light independent reactions. Dark phase or light independent reactions. Here, for the photosynthesis, light is necessary for the initiation of the photosynthesis process, whereas for the continuation of these reactions, light is not necessary, because that trapped light energy is used so that glucose is produced, where later on light is not necessary. So that's why, depending on where the light is necessary, it is said as light phase, and where light is not necessary, it is said as dark phase. Got the point? Which means some reactions which are occurring in the photosynthesis need light, whereas some reactions which are occurring in photosynthesis does not need light. Got the point? So together light phase and dark phase together actually is the complete process of photosynthesis. Understood? Now let us study in detail the mechanism of photosynthesis. Actually, what is the process going on in photosynthesis? We will study in detail now. Let us see the mechanism of photosynthesis. Okay, so here coming to the first one, I said the photosynthesis process is divided into two phases, that is light phase and the second one is dark phase. Coming to the first one, it is called light dependent reaction. The light phase is also called as light dependent reaction, and it is also called as photochemical phase. What is it otherwise called? Photochemical phase. So the light dependent reaction, by the name itself it is understood. Light is essential for the reactions to occur in this phase. So light plays an important role for the initiation of the chemical reactions in this phase. Understood? And it occurs in grana. Where does this light phase occurs? Grana. So in the chloroplast structure we had seen group of thylakoids or piled up thylakoids is called granum. Isn't it or not? So the light dependent reaction occurs in grana. Here light is essential for the initiation of the chemical reactions to occur. A number of reactions occur at a fast rate in the presence of light. Got the point? And that's why this is also called as photochemical phase. Photo means what? Light. So here in the presence of light, number of chemical reactions occur. That's why technically this light dependent reaction is also called as photochemical phase, where the light is playing an important role. Okay, so different steps occur in this phase or in this light dependent reaction. Okay, so three major steps we are going to discuss now, which are occurring in light dependent reaction. In light dependent reaction, how many major steps are being actually seen? Three major steps are seen, or three major steps are occurring. Coming to the first step which is occurring in this light dependent reaction. Here the chlorophyll on the exposure to light energy, chlorophyll on exposure to light energy gets activated by absorbing photons. By absorbing photons. What are photons? They are nothing but the smallest unit of light is called photon. So the chlorophyll pigment, while it is exposed to light energy, it gets activated by absorbing the photons. So that is the first step occurring. Coming to the second step, water is splitted. What is happening in the second step? Water is splitted. Here in the presence of light, that is light energy captured by the chlorophyll, the water is splitted. That is H2O is splitted into H plus, that is hydrogen ion, and OH minus hydroxyl ion. Water is splitted into H plus hydrogen ion and OH minus hydroxyl ion. And this reaction is called as photolysis. What is this reaction called? Photolysis. Photo means what? Light. Lysis means breaking. So in the presence of light, water is splitted, or water breaks into hydrogen ion and hydroxyl ion. And this reaction was discovered by a scientist called Robert Hill. Who is the scientist who discovered this reaction? Robert Hill discovered this photolysis reaction and said that in the presence of light, water is splitted into H plus and OH minus ion. Understood? Hence this is also called as Hill's reaction. What is this photolysis called as? Hill's reaction, because this was discovered by Robert Hill. Understood? So in the second step, water is splitted. Okay, coming to the third step. This hydrogen ion and hydroxyl ion which are formed in the second step, they are very reactive. So in this, the hydroxyl ion undergoes a series of changes or a number of changes and finally forms into water and oxygen. The hydroxyl ion which we got from the water splitting, that undergoes a series of reactions and finally forms what? Water and oxygen, and that water is used by the plant itself, and whereas the oxygen is released out into the atmosphere. Got the point? So in this light dependent reaction, two energies are formed, that is ATP and NADPH. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. NADPH means nicotinamide adenosine dinucleotide hydrogen phosphates. These are the chemical energies. What are these? Chemical energies. So these are formed and these energies are used in the second phase of the photosynthesis, that is dark phase, or also called as light independent reaction. And here already I said, in the splitting of water, hydroxyl ion formed water and oxygen, whereas the hydrogen ion is used up in the second phase of the photosynthesis. And what is happening in the second phase of photosynthesis? Let us see. What are the assimilatory power? ATP and NADPH are the assimilatory power, are nothing but the chemical energies which are used up in the second phase of the photosynthesis. Now let us talk about the second phase of the photosynthesis, that is light independent reaction. What is it called? Light independent reaction, also called as dark reaction. What is it called? Dark reaction. Here, for these reactions to occur, light is not necessary, which means here it doesn't mean dark reaction means it occurs in the darkness of night, but light is not necessary for these reactions to occur. So in the light phase where energy, the solar energy is captured and some reactions have occurred and we have the chemical energies formed, and those chemical energies are used in the light independent reaction which is occurring simultaneously. And here dark reaction, it is also called as dark reaction. It doesn't mean that it is occurring in the darkness of night, but light is not necessary for these reactions. That's why it is called light independent reaction, or also called as dark reaction. It is also having another name, that is biosynthetic phase. Here the plants are synthesizing, that means preparing the glucose. Actually we already know about the photosynthesis equation, and the product of photosynthesis is glucose. So here in this phase the synthesis of glucose occurs. That's why this phase is also called as biosynthetic phase. Got the point? So here the hydrogen from the photolysis reaction in the light phase we had seen. So the hydrogen ion from photolysis is used up by NADP, nicotinamide adenosine dinucleotide phosphate. NADP takes up the hydrogen ion and converts into NADPH. What is NADPH? Nicotinamide adenosine dinucleotide hydrogen phosphate. So taking the hydrogen ion, NADP is converted into NADPH, and the hydrogen from this NADPH is used by the carbon dioxide to reduce to glucose in the presence of ATP energy. Using the ATP energy, the hydrogen from the NADPH is used to reduce carbon dioxide to glucose. Carbon dioxide to glucose. In this way, glucose is formed. Actually, photosynthesis is a very complex process, and in this light independent reaction a number of reactions occur and number of intermediary compounds are used. One such intermediate compound is RUBP. This is ribulose 1,5-bisphosphate, and number of enzymes are necessary or used for these reactions to occur, and finally glucose is formed, and that glucose is converted into starch, and that starch is the stored form of food present in the plants. Light independent reaction occurs in stroma. That's why stroma is called the site for enzymatic reactions. So number of reactions occur and finally glucose is formed, and that glucose is converted into starch, which will be the stored food present in the plants. Understood? So this is what is the mechanism of photosynthesis, where in chloroplasts 3 events occur, that is conversion of light energy into chemical energy, second one is splitting of water molecule, and the third one is reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrate. So this is the mechanism of photosynthesis which is seen in the plants, the important life process which occur in plants. Is it clear, children? And in the next continuation we will see the heterotrophic nutrition. Okay.